Dry with sunny spells for many of us, but heavy rain continues across the northwest of Scotland. I'll have all the details of that and more coming up on Good Morning Britain.
Monday.
We've been hearing, haven't we, Laura, about this devastating cyclone. Nice to see you, by the way.
Hi, morning.
Hi.
Honestly, it's so awful, and I just think it's really terrifying when they say we just don't know how many people are going to be affected, how many casualties. There are 1,000 people on the tiny island were asked to lock down, and many of them have more strong winds. We had winds gusts of up to 160 miles an hour, sustained of 130. That's what made it the equivalent of a Category 4 hurricane. 200 millimetres of rain has fallen in 24 hours, with half a metre of storm surge on the coast as it makes landfall. The problem now, as it makes its way inland through Malawi and into Mozambique, is that these areas have been very dry. So any rainfall that's coming, and we're likely to see a month's worth of rainfall in the next 24 hours, well, that could lead to some widespread flooding. So lots of concerns here as it tracks its way inland. But for us back in the UK, this weekend we finally saw some sunshine. Last weekend it was cloudy, grey, dull. For many of us, brighter skies this weekend were wonderful. But the northwest of Scotland has a band of rain. It arrived. It's set to stay there all day long. So a warning in force for how heavy that rain is set to be. But high pressure dominates elsewhere for the time being, keeping it fine and settled before we see a weather front move in from the west tomorrow. What does that mean for today? Largely fine, dry and bright for many of us, and it will be mild. Temperatures this morning when you step outside, 8 to 10 degrees, more typical of where it should be by day, top temperatures for this time of year. The radar picks out our band of rain, though. It is heavy for the northwest of Scotland, damp and drizzly through other western areas, and this is our weather warning in force for today for the northwest of Scotland, where we could see the risk of some localised flooding. So through the day, the rain doesn't go anywhere, it stays all day. But for everyone else, we have this southwesterly flow, keeping it mild, breaking up the clouds, sunny spells and light winds. So pleasant if you're outdoor today away from the northwest of Scotland with highs of 13.
Longer than that on this planet. I mean, that must be a low.
So the sustain was 130, which makes it the bottom end of a Category 4.
Right.
So the wind gusts of up to 160. But when we saw the hurricane that went through through parts of Florida earlier in the year, in November time, they had 90 miles an hour. So, yeah, they can get more ferocious. And it's like an exponential scale. For every 10 miles an hour, it can cause, significantly more damage.
Absolutely, yeah. OK, thanks very much indeed, Laura.
P.S. I have plenty more weather chat. Give me a vegetable, I am there. OK. Now, weather-wise, as we saw with Andy, it is pretty windy up there in Scotland. We have a band of heavy rain around as well. This is what is happening up here. But high pressure further south keeps things fine and settled. So yes, the breezy, mild details. Now, weather fronts are queuing up from the Atlantic to move in across particularly the northern half of the UK later this week. But one is sitting across the northwest of Scotland today and tomorrow with a warning in force here. This moves in later on tomorrow into Wednesday. Now, winds are southwesterly, and that means it is mild. Welcome back to Good Morning Britain. The weather this week much milder than the grey, dull, cold conditions we had last week. Weather fronts moving in from the Atlantic, bringing spells of rain. Today, the focus for rain comes across the northwest of Scotland. Then this weather front moves in for later on tomorrow. Just look at the isobars. They're pretty close together across the northern half of the UK. Welcome back to Good Morning Britain. It's a bright, breezy day ahead for many of us. Dry for most, but not the northwest of Scotland, where we have a weather warning in force for heavy rain today. That lasts into tomorrow, the risk of some localised flooding here. But elsewhere, blustery winds from the southwest help to break the cloud up. And after the weekend, where we saw the return of some welcome sunshine, sunny spells for all of us again today. But it is mild. Look at these temperatures, 11 to 13 degrees. And we stick with this mild theme in the southwesterly winds as we head through the week. More rain moves in from the west later on tomorrow.